today's guide I am going to show you the most powerful build that you can make early game, and also you can build upon this build to carry you through the mid game and the end game. This is the most powerful thing that I have been able to accomplish in this game, and it's just so goddamn broken that you can pretty much feel like it's easy mode without using the accessibility options that the game gives to you. What is up, you damn gorgeous and beautiful gamers? Welcome back to Role-Playing Games, to this merry old corner in the internet where we like to discuss about RPGs. If you like the content, if you like to have these conversations with merry old James, I would very much like to invite you, like always, to hit the like button because it really helps me like you have no idea. And also, most of the people that watch my content are in fact not subscribed to my channel, so what are you waiting for? So that being said, the class that you're going to be using, that you're going to be starting with this build, it's going to be the Alchemist. This is an alchemy build and focuses on using frost damage, but also the frost affliction damage, the frost affliction debuff that you can cause onto the enemies. First and foremost, very first weapon that you're going to be using is the glass core batons. Now, this weapon, you can find it as soon as possible. It's very much like a starting weapon, a starting class weapon for the Alchemist. As you can see right here, it has alchemy affinity, but what you do need to have in mind about this weapon is that extra damage that you're going to be getting by placing points into elemental alchemy. We're going to be discussing about the stats of this thing later on, but that main increase in damage, it's always only going to be coming from infusing your weapon. So it's really, you want to be infusing your weapon at all times, so you do want to have elemental capsules, alchemical capsules at all times with you. Now, that being the case, that is the main weapon that you're going to be using, and also the Charles Beale 1789 shield musket. It is a very nice weapon to use as a side thing because it also has nice alchemy affinity. That being said, let's go over to the stats. We have 10 elemental alchemy, 5 engineering, and that's pretty much everything that you should be focusing on early game. Get 10 elemental alchemy points and then 10 engineering points. Now let's go through why do we want to have these things and why is this thing going to help me to become a goddamn ruthless bastard that's always freezing everything in his path, and you don't actually have to worry about nothing else. Elemental alchemy, it's going to increase your frost damage. As you can see right here, my frost damage is just 26, but you do have a base physical damage that is increased by your frost damage. So basically you're dealing like 80 points in base damage, but that is not the interesting part about this build. The interesting part about this build is engineering. These two stats right here synergize with each other. Elemental alchemy is going to increase your frost damage for your glass core batons, and then engineering, it's going to increase the affliction multiplier. You also need, as soon as you can find it, use the lasting affliction module. This is, I do not remember where did I get this thing from, but you can get it early on in the game. So basically, as soon as you get this thing, this is going to increase the duration of alchemical afflictions on the enemies. It is a thing that we need to have for one specific reason that I am going to showcase to you in a brief while. But right now, you do need 5 engineering points. Do not dump all of your elemental alchemy points, well, all of your points into elemental alchemy. For the very first stages of the game, you're going to get to level 16 and level like 20. As soon as you're done with these things, you need to be focusing on maxing out this thing. And engineering, you need it because you want affliction multiplier. Affliction multiplier is going to increase the chance that you have to place frost onto the enemies. So basically, this is what you need early game. You do not need durability, nor vigor, nor power, nor agility. You do not need endurance. Is important, but with the endurance that we have right now, it's more than enough to be able to do what we want to do with this build. Also, another important thing about elemental alchemy is that it's going to give you frost resistance. So when you have frost resistance, that means that you can just take a look at how many hits can I do with this thing, and then use my thing like that, like my cooldown mechanic, and my affliction multiplier is not going to be that bad onto me because I have so much alchemy points. Now, what you want to do with this build is use this thing right here, which is the special attack of the weapon. It's going to freeze enemies in 3 single hits. Now, the enemy is going to remain frozen, and you have to do something very specific about this. The normal thing that someone would do is charge up a heavy attack and then throw up that heavy attack onto the enemy. That is not what you want to do with this build. What you want to do with this build is leverage the amount of time that the enemy is frozen to get as many hits on them as possible. As you can see right here, I am going to be able to freeze this guy right here on 3 single hits. No, that didn't actually work out so well. Let's try that again. I wasn't fast enough. Let's try that again with this guy right here. So 1, 2, 3, and then once he's frozen, another 1, 2, charge up a heavy attack, and he's dead. More often than not, if they survive, they're going to get more freeze build up. So essentially, on bigger enemies that have higher health pools, they are going to be frozen all freaking times. At all times, they are going to be frozen. Now, one important thing about this build is that you need alchemical capsules, as you can see right there. This thing that you're using consumes 2 alchemical capsules. Granted, that is not that much, but since you have to be spamming this thing on every single encounter, because if you don't, then you are not using the points that you place onto the afflictions and your elemental alchemy. If you not infuse your weapons, it is actually kind of pointless to have that much points into elemental alchemy, because again, the extra damage for elemental alchemy, it's always going to come from infusing my weapon. That is why engineering is also so goddamn important, because engineering is going to ensure that I get more loot multiplier. Loot multiplier is going to give me elemental capsules. With this kind of loot multiplier, every single enemy that I kill, more often than not, is always going to give me elemental capsules. Another important thing about picking this class at the beginning of the game is that it starts with quite a lot of elemental capsules. Also, boutique. The boutique, it's going to sell me, as you can see right here, my alchemical capsules as well. And the more you move on into the game, the more it's going to sell to you, the more you advance on the areas. It's going to, at the very first early stages of the game, it's just going to be like 50 or something like that, 100, and then as you move on, it's going to increase the number by more and more. So if you find yourself that you do not have enough alchemical capsules, head over here and then you can buy them. And trust me, by using this build, it's going to make the game a breeze to you, because it's always going to be freezing enemies on 3 single hits. Not at the early stages of the game when you're just starting out, but when you manage to have this engineering and this elemental alchemy, this is when the build is going to start to shine, because you're always going to be freezing enemies. From beyond this point, all you need to do is focus on this right here and this right here. Eventually, you can use like durability and bigger to make yourself more durable, but this is the focus. Early game, since you're not placing any points into durability, no bigger, what you want to do is also have a module that it's going to give you health, modules that are going to give you stamina, basically everything that you do not have by focusing yourself on damage and placing the affliction on the enemy, you're going to be replacing early game with modules. And that's pretty much everything that you need to know about this build. And as you were able to see, it is so goddamn deadly. You're always going to be freezing enemies, and it's going to make your playthrough like a breeze. Remember to like the video and subscribe before you close the door, and remember that if no one has told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Goodbye.